Bracket busted? Feeling blue? Spending the week pouting? Well, don't come here with your weeping. We've got brackets and birdies and big-time shots at the buzzer. So cheer on Cinderella or hop on the back of a #1 seed. The madness returns to the city that keeps things weird. It's time for match play. Good morning. Welcome into Morning Drive Tuesday, March the 21st, the year 2017. This is Studio AP Damanak alongside a PGA Tour winner, Robert Dameron, LPGA veteran, Paige McKenzie, our travel guru, Matt Janella. Match play, we love it. We see it in the Ryder Cup, the President's Cup. I tell you what, Patrick Reed very familiar with that emotion. And last night we saw him on Faraday. What'd you take away from Captain America?
I thought my favorite part was Faraday said, "Do you still think you're top 5?" Or he goes, "You think you're top 5 Ryder Cupper?" And you could tell Reed just wanted to go, "Dang right I am." But in his mind, he's going, "Wait a minute, I've been burnt by a question similar to this before." And he worded it, nicely and said, "Well, we'll have to wait." But he believes he is. And you're supposed to believe it.
Absolutely. How about you, Janelle? You watched it.
Yeah, well, I'm Patrick Reed for me is just like Sergio Garcia, Tiger Woods, Jordan Spieth. These guys who wear their hearts on their sleeves, show us some emotion, give us the thrill of victory, but also take us along through the agony of defeat. That's all you can ask for from an athlete in which they're not on teams. These are individual brands, and the reason why Patrick Reed is a guy who sells tickets is because he does all of that. He's not afraid to be honest. And I think if you had a tour of Patrick Reed's, you're going to sell a lot of tickets, as opposed to maybe a tour of some of the other guys who wear white shirts and khaki pants and white shoes and a white hat. It can be really bland out there. So when someone comes along like a Patrick Reed, it's very refreshing, and it's something that you're willing to invest in.
I'm glad I'm not wearing khaki and white today.
Me too. My Sunday outfit.
Careful.
But I agree. In so many ways of what you're describing is the humanizing of Patrick Reed.
Yeah.
And I do like Faraday for that reason, is that you get to see another side. And with Patrick Reed last night, you got to hear, his side of what happened with his wife Justine, and not only, her caddying on the bag, which is what we all see and how important that is to him, but having a seizure and how did he respond and how is she doing? So it was really cool to see a different side of Patrick Reed.
It was a wide-ranging interview. I was moved by the aspects of the conversation about Justine as well. Next week, Faraday will speak to former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice. Right now, we say good morning to Lauren Thompson. What's up, LT?
Good morning, Damon. Glad to have you all joining us at home as well. Fun to tune into Faraday, but let's move into this morning's tee sheet, because speaking of Patrick Reed, he's going to be a part of the high-octane week at Austin Country Club. Match play has a way of bringing out the fire in these already ultra-competitive players. We're going to take you inside the match play madness, who's taking on whom, and how they actually stack up against each other. However, none of it means anything if you aren't feeling healthy, and today, the Team USA Ryder Cup Dr. Ara Sampaya, he's going to be tackling common issues with your wrist and elbows. We're going to have a 1-2 punch as the doc will walk you through the anatomy, while Travis Fulton's going to throw in the adjustments to make in your swing so you can be pain-free. And Matty G may be in Studio AP today, but he's fresh from 5 straight days of working out with the world #1 Dustin Johnson and his trainer Joey D. DJ, though, is a shining example of a power hitter in the game. See the ground-based activation moves he does in the gym that light his tee shots on fire. Damon, the hot scene, though, for golf this week is Austin, Texas.
LT, I can still hear Ryan Burr's voice. Press the green button. The green button. Last night was all about ping pong balls and match play in Texas. And yes, before we break down the brackets, our own Cara Robinson caught up with one of the state's favorite sons.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, joined by a Longhorn, a 2-time Masters champion, and a man that loves this event as much as anyone, Ben Crenshaw. Thank you for being with us. What a night this is. You were here last year, the first time we got to do this live in Austin, your hometown. We're back again for year 2. How much do you love seeing everyone arrive
it's such a thrill for Tom Kite and I, you know, but the depth of talent is what amazes me. You know, I think I may have said to you earlier, in my day, yeah, we had some wonderful players, no question, but I think it's much deeper and people are more capable, and they've proven it. Everybody's a threat, it seems, so it's great.
There's an awful lot of groups out there that could be the group of horror. Everyone talks about it, but there are several contenders. I know you've been a mentor to Jordan Spieth, of course, another one of Texas's own for a long time. Do you keep a particularly close eye on him? Will we see you walking the fairways this week? I watch him a lot. You know, I love him very much, and he's very special. I think he's great for the game, and he possesses a great talent. But you know what? With the Thomases and the McIlroys, it is a great, great, great bunch of guys who really say a lot about our game and do it so well. They're all gentlemen, and they like each other, which I think is great. You know, they know that, you know, if I don't get him this week, I'll get him next week. It breeds a chain reaction. It's great to see. Still in awe of the world's best players today. I know you are doing wonderful things for golf in Austin and Texas as a whole as well. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks for taking the time with us, Ben. Thanks, Cara. Good to see you. Alrighty, guys, back to you.
Tell you what, I could listen to Ben Crenshaw all morning long. Austin Country Club, about 5 miles from downtown Austin, as we look at the skyline of the Colorado River, 1,450 miles long. So what will we see this week? How about 64 players divided into 16 4-player groups, Wednesday through Friday, round robin, 1 point for a win, a half point for a half. Everyone in the field guaranteed at least 3 matches, something Jordan Spieth brought up last night, saying it's very good for the fans, and the player with the highest point total from each group moves on to Saturday morning round of 16 single elimination, then round of 8 Saturday afternoon, semifinal Sunday morning, championship and consolation matches Sunday afternoon. Robert, the biggest names in the game are here. Which group intrigues you the most?
I'm watching it. It's like the Hunger Games of golf. Everybody starts, and then we're just left with one standing. I think the top seed that is in the most trouble is Jason Day, the defending champ.
Okay.
He drew Mark Leishman. We just saw what he did last week. He drew former world #1 Lee Westwood, Ryder Cup hero, a guy that's a stranger to match play at all. And Pat Perez, who's been playing well, he's coming back, and he's fiery. You don't want those fiery guys, like Matt was saying earlier with Reed. You don't want somebody that can really get into an emotional high and just beat you down quick. So I think he's got a long road to haul, especially given that in 2017, he's only got one top 10. He's just not playing like Jason Day's supposed to play.
And he's got some underrated players that are going to be in his group. That's definitely going to be a group to watch. But my group to watch starts with Sergio Garcia and then moves on to Jon Rahm, his countryman, Kevin Chappell, and Shane Lowry. But of course, the biggest matchup of this group is going to be the Sergio Garcia-Jon Rahm matchup. Of course, both from Spain, but also both have won already this season. And in addition to the win, Jon Rahm's already posted 2 other top 5s at AT&T and the WGC event in Mexico, and Sergio has 2 other top 15s at Honda and WGC Mexico. They're going to be a fiery match, but more than that, they actually match up really well in the same strengths. If you look at the statistics, both very good off the tee, both very good into the green, nearly hit at the exact same distance, and have nearly the exact same scoring average this year. So I anticipate it's going to be a great head-to-head matchup. The edge goes to Jon Rahm a little bit on the putting, but don't forget Sergio Garcia against Phil Mickelson at Ryder Cup and what he can do in match play.
And I tell you what, somewhere Seve Ballesteros is smiling looking at those two men right now. So what do these golf swings look like up close? Let's say good morning to Golf Channel Academy lead coach Travis Fulton. What's up, buddy?
Hey, good morning, everyone. And World Golf Championships, I love this tournament, the match play, the best players in the world. And they say in golf instruction, there's no 2 swings that are the same. And I can promise you there's no 3 swings that are the same. We're going to have some fun here this morning, and we're going to compare the top 3 players in the world, their golf swing, Dustin Johnson, Jason Day, and Rory McIlroy. So we're going to start here at address. And here's the world #1, Dustin Johnson. And the thing when I look at Dustin Johnson, obviously he's a great athlete, very athletic. You can see the hip hinge here, the pelvis is pushed back. And when you see an athletic setup here, you can see the belt buckle turned down about 45 degrees. That really gets your legs active and ready to move. Now, when you go to Jason Day, let's bring him in here. And I'm bringing Jason Day here next to world number 3 because we go to the other end of the spectrum here. Look at more knee bend, the belt buckle is more level, and his spine is certainly taller. And of course, with Jason, he's got the lower back issue, so he kind of modifies the setup to help tailor to that. Now, let's go to Rory McIlroy. Rory McIlroy is going to fit right in between the two there. Adequate hip hinge, adequate knee bend. You can see a little more extension in the arms. His arms get out away from him, and he does that for a reason as he takes the club back, which I'm going to get to here in a second. So all three, some similarities. Lower back, you can see very flat, but all three definitely have their differences at address. Now here's where it really gets different. Let's go to the top of the swing. Watch Dustin Johnson here to the top. When I look at Dustin, to me, he strikes me very much as a lower body player. We saw how athletic he was at address. He loses flexion in his right knee because he really cranks on that right hip. That right hip is really turning back out of the way, losing flexion. That transfers right up to a very flexible spine. And then, of course, most notably, that flat or bowed left wrist, which gets the face shut. Now, if you look at Jason Day, he maintains the flexion in the knee. So his is more of an upper body type of player. He's recruiting more in the shoulders, in the torso, and look at the left wrist condition. It's a little more cupped, and the club definitely pointing more to the right than that of Dustin Johnson. And then, of course, Rory McIlroy here. You can see really good structure here right in between the two, shafts on plane and the face squared. As I talked about with Rory, he had that width there, and that Rory really stays out wide and makes that full turn. So all three of these players, very different. They hit it well over 300 yards. I'm exhausted, Damon. We're going to come back in hour 2, and I'm going to take these three down through impact and into the finished positions where we're going to continue to see some of the difference.
Love it, T-Full. Left wrist condition. This is very cool watching those three great players. All right, folks, time now for On the Road, presented by Shipsticks. We take a closer look at Austin Country Club, opened back in 1984, designed by Pete Dye. 122 bunkers, Matt Janella. Why is this such a good match play venue?
Well, I spoke to Rod Whitman last night, who young Rod Whitman actually was assigned to work with Pete Dye in the early 80s, kind of cutting his teeth in the world of architecture. Obviously goes on to build Cabot Links in Nova Scotia. So Rod Whitman has become one of the great Canadian modern architects in golf. Rod was saying that he really likes this as match play because it's short. You can't really overpower this golf course. Brings in a lot of strategic elements. There is reward, but there's a lot of risk. If you get it offline there, if you're not hitting it straight, you know, you're going to be out of the hole. You lose the hole and move on. Greens are very difficult here. So strategic elements come into play off the tee, sort of where you're hitting it into the fairway, and then where you're attacking those pins. You got to be very careful. Rod compared these greens to Augusta National's greens. So there's some of that there too.
Tell you what, this morning in our morning meeting, Paige McKenzie showed a little bit of that fire that made her such a great competitor. I mean, when we were talking match play, you were getting hyped. What makes a great match play venue?
Well, I can tell you what doesn't make a good match play venue, and that is basically a straightforward par 4. Something that you're gonna par every single time, maybe a tucked pin, but long, and just, you're never gonna be able to get it close to the hole. That's the worst. So what I love is a lot of variety. I wanna see not only holes that you can birdie and have that risk reward, but I also wanna see really difficult strategic holes that if your playing competitor gets offline, then you still have to advance it and get it in play. So that's what I like. I like the balance between a lot of birdies, but also the opportunity that you're gonna have a bogey or two out there too.
Some people think, well, a stroke play course, match play course, what's the big difference? Do you think there's a difference? You need some variety to make a great match play course?
Well, you do want variety. You don't want to favor a bomber over a short game specialist, but Paige kind of hit on it. What you want is a tough driving course. That way, if player A drives it in trouble, player B can't just step up and ease it somewhere out in the fat part of the fairway. Right. You want that person to have to step up and hit the shot as necessary, and it's not a given just that the first guy's in trouble. And then also, a couple easy hole locations is good. Once you get it in the fairway, let's see some birdies. Let's see some guys going right at it. That's part of match play. You want to see not every pin tucked like you would on a Sunday of a normal tour event. You want to see some of those really accessible pin placements where two guys hit it in close. They both hit the fairway. They both are aggressive, and then it comes down to that putter.
Phil Mickelson and Sergio Garcia at Hazeltine, for example.
Yeah, guys, and we talked about this morning as well. The reason why we're going back to the future of architecture as it relates to golf is because back then they were building golf courses for what was, match play. They weren't doing a lot of metal play over in the UK. Alistair McKenzie said it best. I talked to Jim Urbina, who co-designed Old MacDonald in homage to C.B. McDonald at Bandon Dunes, and he said, and he pulled this quote for me from Alistair McKenzie: should a course or hole be ideal from a metal or match play point of view? If it is necessary to draw a distinction between the two, there can be little doubt that match play should always have prior claim. 9 out of 10 games on most good courses are played in matches and not for medals. It gives you a sense of what was going on back in the golden age of architecture and why some of the courses back then didn't always build to a dramatic finish, because a lot of matches would be ending at 14, 15, 16 holes. So you didn't need that TV finish on 17 and 18. You look at all the great single course clubs in America that are private and have 700 to 1,000 members or work as a business model. You go Pine Valley, Augusta National, Cypress Point, Shinnecock, Oakmont, National Golf Links.
I knew you'd get to National.
National Golf Links of America. You Fisher's Island. You can go on. And one thing they have in common is this golden age of architecture, strategy, options. Each hole has the potential of being an individual adventure. It's fun, and people can play it over and over again. We're talking about members, not necessarily pros.
I like how some courses that you play, you can see them kind of climax to a certain area.
Right.
I love courses that each hole has their own unique identity, because like you said, you might not finish on 16, 17, 18.
Right.
Give us a Redan, a drivable par 4, a reachable par 5. We'll see a lot of that this week at Austin Country Club. Adventure, as Matt Janelle says. Let's continue our adventure, get social, and send it back to LT.
You got it, Damon. Well, something that we've seen a lot of in the golf history books is amazing match play moments. So we're going to need your help on this one. This is our Twitter question of the day on Morning Drive. Of all of the big match play moments, the ones that have gone down in history on the course, send us your favorite one, and it could be featured on air this morning, but you got to use that hashtag GC Morning Drive. We'll get to some of the best responses later in the show. Something else that's probably going to beg a response from you: a good gym session with the world #1 Dustin Johnson. Well, what does that include? Some power drills involving the ground. Matt Janelle is going to join the top-ranked player in the world in the gym. So bring your sneakers, because it's coming up as Morning Drive rolls on.